officially signed as an MMA fighter to the fastest growing sports league in the world. The PFL, baby.
Jake Paul has sent shockwaves through the boxing world with his latest announcement. He's stepping away from the sport. Critics, already skeptical of his career built on what many call scripted bouts, are in an uproar. His reputation, long teetering on the edge, seems to have hit rock bottom. With this move, sponsors are reportedly backing away, unwilling to associate with the controversy surrounding him. The backlash marks a significant turning point in his tumultuous boxing journey.
Disrupted boxing, and now it's time to disrupt MMA. I know this is such a tough sport, and it's not going to be easy.
What's a man with no credibility and a thirst for cash to do? Switch to MMA, of course. Why stay in a sport that demands real skill when he can join the PFL, a league still finding its footing, and capitalize on lower expectations? Jake's plan is as bold as it is opportunistic.
Mentioned that these champions get $1 million when they join the PFL.
Ride the MMA wave, grab a hefty paycheck, and tarnish a sport still finding its place. Classic Jake Paul, leaving a trail of chaos in everything he touches.
Nikisa an hour ago. The point is, yeah, I talked to Nikisa an hour ago. Two things are happening. Jake is super successful in boxing. Whether you love Jake or hate Jake, we can all agree that guy's the man when it comes to generating attention and revenue and viewership with his boxing career. And it's more successful than it was when we signed him. On the boxing side, that has delayed MMA. That's delayed MMA because he's killing it on the boxing side. So will MMA happen with PFL? Yes, it will. Has it been delayed? Yes, it has. My guess is fall of this year, but I don't think it's going to be before then. He's got so many things going on in boxing.
Yeah, it's kind of what they told us as well. We did a little round table with him last month, and Nikisa and Amanda in Orlando, and just basically like, listen, I got a box. So it could be maybe later this year, maybe 2026, but he's planning on doing it. At least that's
He's
what
going
he said,
to do it. And by the way, every time you've asked me or Nikisa or Jake, we've probably given similar answers without coordinating. We thought for sure it was 2024 fall.
Jake's move to MMA boils down to one thing: money. The PFL handed him a multi-million-dollar deal, not for his fighting skills, but for his massive Instagram following. Even PFL founder Don Davis all but admitted Jake's primary value lies in his status as a walking billboard. Forget being a legitimate fighter. Jake's real job is drawing eyeballs to screens, not stacking wins on his record. It's almost comical that even the league signing him seems more thrilled about the buzz he generates than his actual ability to, well, fight.
Baby, and not only am I an MMA fighter now officially signed to an organization, but I am also a co-founder of the new PFL pay-per-view Super Fight.
Boxing experts are ripping into Jake Paul, and for good reason. The big question: is he leaving because he can't cut it in boxing? The answer is as obvious as his poor footwork. Absolutely. Switching to MMA is just his way of dodging criticism.
Is absolutely the most lit thing in the world! I need to calm down. But seriously, I'm excited.
In boxing, respect is earned by climbing the ranks and facing top-tier opponents. But Jake Paul has always preferred playing the part over proving himself. MMA, with its lower expectations for crossover stars, offers the perfect stage for Jake to keep pretending he's a real athlete while dodging serious competition.
Use my platform to market PFL fighters and introduce them to my fans worldwide. I personally will be deeply involved in making sure that the PFL is the best place in the world.
Now Jake is bringing his circus to MMA under the PFL banner, proving once again he's more businessman than fighter. This move isn't about athletic ambition. It's all about padding his bank account. With reports of Jake earning over $30 million annually from his ventures, the motivation is clear.
Balls, then? I don't know.
It's hard to respect someone who treats combat sports as a personal cash grab. Boxing experts are spot on. Jake Paul is more businessman than athlete. Every decision he makes is carefully calculated for maximum profit, not to take on real challenges.
Seriously, okay? Yes, I still want to become a world champion in boxing.
Even the PFL knows exactly what they're getting. Founder Don Davis called Jake Paul a marketing genius, which is just a polite way of admitting they hired him for clout, not talent. Let's be honest, Jake's MMA move isn't about proving himself. It's about cashing in on his social media fame.
Jake or hate Jake, we can all agree that guy's the man when it comes to generating attention and revenue and viewership.
Let's not overlook the timeline. Jake Paul's MMA debut was set for 2024, but has now been pushed to late 2025. His excuse? Boxing commitments. The reality? There's nothing on his schedule except avoiding ranked opponents and protecting his ego. Critics aren't buying it, seeing this delay for what it is. Jake dodging mounting pressure in boxing and seeking a safe haven in a sport with lower expectations. It's yet another calculated move to keep the spotlight without real challenges.
On the boxing side, that has delayed MMA. That's delayed MMA. So will MMA happen with PFL? Yes, it will. Has it been delayed? Yes, it has. My guess is fall of the...
Let's break this down. Jake Paul has been parading around like he's the savior of boxing, but the truth is, most of his opponents have been nowhere near qualified. Tyron Woodley, a retired UFC fighter, had zero boxing credentials. Ben Askren, a former wrestler, couldn't outbox a toddler. Nate Robinson, a basketball player, was never a boxer. Then there's his one legitimate boxing match against Tommy Fury in 2023. The only time he faced someone who actually knew how to box, and he got exposed. Even fans are mocking him, saying he's leaving boxing without ever stepping into the ring with a real boxer. Now Jake is heading to the Professional Fighters League, PFL, where he can sell the same old narrative to a fresh audience. But here's the kicker. His MMA debut won't even happen until fall 2025. That's almost 2 years away, enough time for Jake to film hype videos, launch a new merch line, and dodge any real pressure. The reason for the delay? He claims it's due to his ongoing boxing commitments. Commitments to what exactly? Another loss? Experts aren't buying it. The real reason? Jake's running from the mounting pressure of facing actual boxers. MMA offers him an easy escape where he can play the new guy card while avoiding any real accountability.
Sir Nikisa Bedarian is also joining as a co-founder of this new division for the PFL, and I'm appointing him the head of making everyone.
Jake Paul's entire boxing career has felt like a bad prank that overstayed its welcome. For years, he's dodged real competition like a seasoned pro. Except he's not a pro. Critics have slammed him for cherry-picking opponents so carefully, it's as if he's trying to pick the perfect avocado. Canelo Alvarez? Not happening. A rematch with Anderson Silva? Dream on.
It matters. The opponent matters. Right? The opponent always matters. Jake is brilliant at picking opponents. So, of course it matters who the name in the...
Instead of stepping up to fight real boxers, Jake Paul is busy handpicking opponents he knows he can beat, or at least those who won't embarrass him too badly. Yet he never stops running his mouth. It's almost laughable. The only thing louder than his trash talk is the sound of him dodging actual challenges. Jake disrupted boxing by becoming the first boxer to never face a legitimate boxer. Now, he's set to disrupt MMA by fighting only retired professional football players. Boxing experts have had a field day roasting him, and it's easy to see why. Jake talks a big game but refuses to face anyone with real credentials. At this point, the tagline of his career is clear. Jake talks big but won't fight real fighters. He loves to portray himself as a revolutionary in the sport, but his actions scream cowardice louder than his YouTube thumbnails scream clickbait.
The best fighters fight the best fighters every single year, which is better for you. I'm bringing you the best fight.
Let's be honest, is there anyone more delusional than Jake Paul? No wonder he's ditching boxing for MMA. It's easier to rewrite the narrative in a different sport than to face the brutal truth. Jake Paul isn't built for real boxing. When you compare him to true boxers, the contrast is laughable. Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao were facing ranked opponents practically as teenagers, While Jake's so-called career has been built on fighting retired athletes, basketball players, and MMA fighters who couldn't throw a proper jab if their lives depended on it. It's no surprise the boxing world refers to him as a social media boxer. His career is less about actual victories and more about Instagram followers. Jake Paul isn't here for the grind, the sweat, or the glory of boxing. He's here to cash checks, post highlight reels, and make a quick buck. Let's face it, he's not the savior of boxing. He's its punchline.
Yeah, them dudes just using their YouTube status to come in boxing and make all this.
Let's talk numbers, because Jake loves throwing those around. Sure, $5 million in pay-per-view sales in 2023 sounds impressive, but when you dig deeper, it's all smoke and mirrors. People aren't paying for the sport, they're paying for the circus. They're not buying tickets to see a real fighter. They're buying them to watch Jake's ego take a punch. Yet after all that money and all those headlines, Jake has never faced a ranked professional boxer. Not one. Zero. The moment boxing demanded real legitimacy, Jake packed his bags and made the move to MMA. Coincidence? Hardly.
Cooper, you ain't a boxer, mate. This guy never took a punch. He's never took one serious punch. Here's what he's took of Anderson Silva. And he's done this. What is that?
If there's one fight that stripped away the illusion, it was Jake Paul's loss to Tommy Fury. That fight was a public unmasking. Fury exposed every flaw in Jake's game, from his sloppy footwork to his wildly inaccurate punches. Jake looked like an amateur pretending to be a pro. And let's be clear, Tommy Fury isn't even a top-tier boxer. He's a decent fighter, sure, but not a world champion. Yet even that was enough to send Jake spiraling. Experts didn't hold back, labeling his career as a house of cards built on weak opponents and YouTube fame. For someone who claims to be changing the game, Jake's version of boxing looks more like a comedy skit than a true revolution.
Friday night, Jake Paul, Mike Tyson.
Yes, I was. But what did I make of it? I think commercially and a business sense, I thought it was absolutely fantastic. Both men made a ton of money. So best of luck to them. Congratulations. As far as the boxing fight, it wasn't a fight. It was a tip and tap. Don't hit me, I won't hit you. Circle the ring a little bit. Make it look good. That's all it was. So I don't really make too much of it.
The real tragedy here isn't just Jake Paul. It's what he's doing to boxing by turning it into his personal reality show. With every headline he generates, he chips away at the integrity of a sport built on grit, discipline, and respect. Fans are fed up, and experts are right to point out that Jake Paul isn't leaving boxing. He's leaving the spotlight of real challenges. The legacy he's leaving behind? A trail of clickbait fights, overhyped pay-per-views, and a sport worse off for having entertained his antics. Boxing deserves better than this.